Hello everyone, this is Jerome Waddle, and welcome to the fifth reading of Scrutinies, where Philemon warns Jung about his soul and advises Jung to distinguish himself from his soul. The previous readings from Scrutinies are available on this channel. The first, where Jung scolds his ego I and ended with Jung learning to be alone with himself and his ego I. The second, where Jung questions his soul, who is a feminine voice represented by the wisdom of Sophia. And the third, where Jung befriends Philemon, the wise old man archetype. And the fourth, Jung encounters the three shades. If you missed them, see the description for the clickable links. After Jung encounters the three shades, in this next section of the Scrutinies, pages 342 to 343, as his soul listens, Philemon advises Jung about his soul and what his relationship should be with her. Just as a reminder that Jung's use of masculine and feminine terms is not to be taken as being gender specific. Jung is examining his inner psyche that contains the spirit or yang masculine side and a soul, the yin feminine side. The reading. When I looked up again, I saw my soul in the upper realms, hovering, irradiated by the distant brilliance that steamed from the Godhead. And I called out, "You know what has taken place. You see that it surpasses the power and understanding of man. But I accept it for your sake and mine, to be crucified on the tree of life. Oh bitterness, oh painful silence. If it weren't you, my soul, who touched the fiery heaven and the eternal fullness, how could I? I cast myself before human animals. Oh, most unmanly torment. I must let my virtues, my vestibility be torn apart, because they are thorns in the side of the human animal, not death for the sake of the best, but befouling and rendering of the most beautiful for the sake of life. Alas, is there nowhere a salutary deception to protect me from having the last supper with my carcass? The dead want to live from me. Why did you see me as the one to drink the cess of humanity that poured out of Christendom? Haven't you had enough of beholding the fiery fullness, my soul? Do you want to fly entire into the glaring white light of the Godhead? Into what shades of horror are you plunging me? Is it the devil's pool so deep that its mud sullies even your glowing robe? Where do you get the right to do me such a foul deed? Let the beaker of disgusting filth pass from me. But if this be not your will, then climb past fiery heaven and lodge your charges and topple the throne of God. The dreadful proclaim the right of men also before the gods, and take revenge on them for the infamous deed of humanity, since only gods are able to spur on the human worm to acts of colossal atrocity. Let my fate suffice, and let men manage human destiny. Oh, my mother humanity, thrust this terrible worm of God, the strangler of men, from you. Do not venerate him for the sake of his terrible poison. A drop suffices. And what is a drop to him who at the same time is all emptiness and all fullness? As I proclaimed these words, I noticed that Philemon stood behind me and had given them to me He came alongside me invisibly, and I felt the presence of the good and the beautiful, and he spoke to me with a soft, deep voice. Remove, O man, the divine too from your soul as far as you can manage. What a devilish farce she carries on with you, as long as she still arrogates divine power over you. She's an unruly child and a bloodthirsty daemon at the same time, a tormentor of humans without equal, precisely because she has divinity. Why? Where from? Because you venerate her. The dead, too, want the same thing. Why don't they stay quiet? Because they have not crossed over to the other side. Why do they want sacrifice? So they can live. But why do they want to live with men? Because they want to rule. They have not come to an end with their craving for power, since they died still lusting for power. A child, an old man, an evil woman, a spirit of the dead, and a devil are beings who need to be humored. Fear the soul, despise her, love her, just like the gods. May they be far from us, but above all never lose them, because when lost, they are as malicious as the serpent, as bloodthirsty as the tiger that pounces on the unsuspecting from behind. A man who goes astray becomes an animal. A lost soul becomes a devil. Cling to the soul with love, fear, contempt, and hate, and don't let her out of your sight. She is a hellish divine treasure to be kept behind walls of iron and in the deepest vault. She always wants to get out and scatter glitteringly beauty. Beware, because you have already been betrayed. You'll never find a more disloyal, more cunning, and heinous woman than your soul. How should I praise the miracles of her beauty and perfection? Does she not stand in the brilliance of immortal youth? Is her love not intoxicating wine, and her wisdom the primordial cleverness of serpents? Shield men from her, and her from men. Listen to what she wails and sings in prison, but don't let her escape, as she will immediately turn whore. As her husband, you are blessed through her, and therefore cursed. She belongs to the demonic race of the tom-thumbs and giants, and is only distantly related to humankind. If you seek to grasp her in human terms, you will be beside yourself. The excess of your rage, your doubt, and your love belong to her, but only the excess. If you give her this excess, humanity will be saved from the nightmare. For if you do not see your soul, you see her in fellow men, and this will drive you mad, since this devilish mystery and hellish spook can hardly be seen through. Look at man, the weak one, in his wretchedness and torment, whom the gods have singled out as their quarry. Tear to pieces the bloody veil that the lost soul has woven around man, the cruel nets woven by the death-bringing, and take hold of the divine whore who cannot recover from her fall from grace and craves filth and power in her raving blindness. Lock her up like a lecherous bitch who would like to mingle her blood with every dirty cur. Capture her. May enough at last be enough. Let her for once taste your torment, so that she will get to feel man and his hammer, which he has wrested from the gods. May man rule in the human world. May his laws be valid, but treat the souls, daemons, and gods in their way, offering what is demanded, but burden no man, demand and expect nothing from him, with what your devil souls and God souls lead you to believe, but endure and remain silent and do piously what befits your kind, you should act not on the other, but on yourself, unless the other asks for your help or opinion. Do you understand what the other does? Never. How should you? Does the other understand what you do? Whence do you take the right to think about the other and act on him? You have neglected yourself. Your garden is full of weeds, and you want to teach your neighbor about order and provide evidence for his shortcomings. Why should you keep silent about the others? Because there would be plenty to discuss concerning your own demons. But if you act on and think about the other without him soliciting your opinion or advice, you do so because you cannot distinguish yourself from your soul. Therefore, you fall victim to her presumption and help her into whoring. Or do you believe that you must lend your human power to the soul or the gods, or even that it will be useful in pious work if you want to bring the gods to bear on others? Blinded one, that is the Christian presumptionness. The gods don't need your help. You laughable idolater. You seem to yourself like a god and want to form, improve, rebuke, educate, and create men. Are you perfect yourself? Therefore remain silent, mind your business, and behold your inadequacy every day. You are most in the need of your own help. You should keep your opinions and good advice ready for yourself, and not run to others like a whore with understanding and the desire to help. You don't need to play God. What are demons who don't act out of themselves? So let them go to work, but not through you, or else you yourself will become a demon to others. Leave them to themselves and don't preempt them with awkward love, concern, care, advice, or other presumptions. Otherwise, you would be doing the work of the demons. You yourself would be a demon and therefore go into a frenzy. But the demons are pleased at the raving of the helpless men advising and striving to help others. So stay quiet. Fulfill the cursed work of redemption on yourself, and then the demons must torment themselves, and in the same way, all your fellow men who do not distinguish themselves from their souls and let themselves be mocked by demons. It is cruel to leave your blinded fellow human beings to their own devices. It would be cruel if you could open their eyes, but you could open their eyes only if they solicited your opinion and help. Yet if they do not need your help. If you force your help on them, nonetheless, you become their demon and increase their blindness, since you set a bad example. Draw the coat of patience and silence over your head. Sit down and leave the demon to accomplish his work. If he brings something about, he will work wonders. Thus, you will sit under fruit-bearing trees. Know that the demons would like to inflame you, to embrace their work, which is not yours. And, you fool, you believe that it is you, and that it is your work. Why? Because you can't distinguish yourself from your soul. But you are distinct from her, and you should not pursue whoring with other souls, as if by yourself were a soul. But instead, you are a powerless man who needs all his force for his own completion. Why do you look to the other? What you see in him lies neglected in yourself. You should be the guard before the prison of your soul. You are the soul's eunuch who protects her from gods and men, or protects the gods and men from her. Power is given to the weak man, a poison that paralyzes even the gods, like a poison sting bestowed upon a little bee whose force is far inferior to yours. your soul could seize this poison and thereby endanger even the gods. So put the soul under wraps. Distinguish yourself from her, since not only your fellow men, but also the gods must live. Thanks for listening. And the next reading will be the soul's response to Jung and Philemon. Was Philemon's advice good? So stay tuned.